He was pounding on my window so hard the whole car shook. The rain around us, the dark road, the wild expression on his face. It all hit me at once, and before I could get a word out, he shouted through the glass with this strained, panicked voice I didn't recognize. "That's not your fellow in your back seat." I remember the way his mouth formed the words, the shock in his eyes, the way the flashlight he was holding shook slightly in his hand like he had sprinted full force to get to me. My stomach dropped before the meaning even clicked, because part of me already understood something wasn't right. Something had been off for miles, and hearing him say that out loud made the whole world tilt for a second. But that moment, that wasn't where the night actually began. Let me go back a bit and tell you how I ended up there. I was in West Virginia that night, deep into one of those long, winding back roads where the trees lean too close and the road curves more often than it doesn't. You know those stretches that feel like they exist outside regular time, where the map looks normal, but the actual drive feels twice as long? My friend was riding with me. We'd been together all day, music on, snacks between us, a couple stops for gas. Nothing unusual, but hours in a car can wear people down, especially when both people are a little tired and a little irritated. We weren't having a huge fight or anything dramatic. It was more like this steady buildup of small annoyances. Him telling me to slow down on curves I already knew. Me pointing out shortcuts he swore weren't real. Him making comments about my playlist. Me calling him picky. It was stupid stuff, but we both let it get under our skin. By the time the sky went dark, we were in that quiet stage of an argument where nobody wants to be the first one to let their pride go. We drove in silence for a while, each pretending to be over it, even though neither of us actually was. Eventually we passed a tiny rest area, one of those old highway pull-offs with a single wooden bathroom building, a few dim lamps, a vending machine that probably last worked in the 90s. He muttered something like, "Pull over, I need to pee." And before I could say anything back, I took the exit. I pulled into a space near the bathroom. The lights there were this sickly yellow, flickering just enough to make everything look older and more tired. There was one pickup truck parked at the far end, facing the trees, but no one inside it that I could see, and no other cars anywhere. It was one of those rest stops where you feel like even the air is moving slower. My friend didn't wait for the car to stop fully before pushing the door open. He muttered something under his breath, I couldn't tell what, and walked toward the bathroom building without looking back. I stayed in the driver's seat. I was irritated, but more than that, I was tired. The road had been a long one, and I just wanted to cool off for a minute before we got back on the highway. I leaned my head back against the seat, closed my eyes, and took a couple slow breaths. A minute passed, then another. I heard the back passenger side door open, softly. No slam, just a careful click and the faint adjustment of weight, like someone sliding into the seat gently. I assumed it was him. Maybe he didn't want to talk yet. Maybe he was still annoyed. Maybe he just wanted to sit quietly until he cooled down. None of that seemed strange, so I didn't turn around. I didn't even speak. I just reached for the gear shift and eased out of the rest area. The road ahead was long and empty. The kind of empty where the headlights show everything and nothing at the same time. I noticed almost immediately that the car felt heavier. Not dramatically. Just enough that I could feel the presence of someone sitting back there. A stillness. A weight. A quiet that didn't match how my friend usually moved. He was usually fidgety after an argument, adjusting his seatbelt, shifting positions, sighing in exaggerated ways. He wasn't subtle when he was annoyed. But this time, nothing. Absolute stillness. I chalked it up to him being stubborn. Maybe he didn't want to talk for a while. We drove like that for a few minutes. The trees on either side leaned in like they were listening. The curves twisted the car left and right. The silence in the back seat stayed exactly the same. I kept glancing at the mirrors without meaning to, but the back was too dark to see more than a shape. A silhouette maybe. Or maybe that was just the headrest. Hard to tell in that kind of darkness. Then I noticed the truck. It came up behind me slowly at first, a black pickup, barely visible until its headlights hit the back of my car. At first I thought it was the one from the rest stop, but I couldn't be sure. Trucks like that are everywhere out there. But the way it stayed behind me didn't feel casual. It didn't pass, didn't change lanes. It just stayed there. Exactly there, glued to my rear bumper like we were tethered together. I tried slowing down a little to give him the chance to pass. He slowed down too. I sped up a bit. He sped up. The headlights filled my rearview mirror, bright enough that the glare made my eyes squint. After a few minutes, the truck started flashing its brights. Not once, not twice, over and over. This steady, pulsing warning that didn't feel like impatience. It felt urgent. Okay, I muttered. What the hell is he doing? I expected my friend to answer. Even if we were annoyed at each other, something like that usually broke the tension. But the back seat stayed silent. I tried again. Do you see this guy? Is he trying to pass, or what? Nothing. I felt a weird tug of unease. Not fear yet, just that instinctive feeling that something isn't lining up the way it should. I kept my eyes on the mirror, watching the truck mirror my movements perfectly. We went around a long curve. The truck stayed tight behind us. Bryes flashed again, and again. By that point, the hair on the back of my neck was standing up. There was this subtle pressure in my chest, like something was pushing me to take the situation seriously. I looked for a place to pull over, thinking maybe the guy needed help, or maybe something was wrong with my car that I couldn't see. The shoulder widened around a bend, so I slowed down and eased the car onto the side. The truck braked hard behind me. The tires screeched. Before I could even put the car into park, the driver's door flew open. A man jumped out, flashlight in hand, and ran toward me at full speed. Not angry, not aggressive, terrified. He reached my window and started banging on it with his fist, his breath visible in the cold air, shouting something I couldn't hear. I cracked the window an inch, and his words finally cut through. "That's not your fellow in your back seat." Everything inside me dropped. The blood, the thoughts, the warmth, all of it. My body felt like it shrank 2 sizes in 1 second. I turned my head slowly, not because I wanted to, because I had to, because part of my brain already knew something was wrong. The back door was open. A figure I had never seen before slipped out, fast, low, almost like he was trying to stay beneath the beam of the flashlight. He darted into the trees, disappearing so quickly that my eyes barely tracked the movement. He didn't run like someone escaping danger. He ran like someone who had done this before, smooth, quiet, purposeful. By the time the truck driver yanked the rear door all the way open, the stranger was gone, swallowed by the woods. The flashlight beam cut between the trees, but there was no sign of him. No footsteps, no rustling, just empty forest. The driver looked shaken when he turned back to me. "I've been following you since the rest stop," he said, breathing hard. "I saw someone get into your back seat that wasn't your buddy. I kept flashing you, hoping you'd pull over before—" He didn't finish the sentence. I didn't need him to. I slammed the door shut, threw the car into gear, and floored it back toward the rest stop. My pulse felt like it was thudding in my teeth. The drive back felt shorter somehow, like fear collapsed the distance. My headlights hit the dim restroom building, and there he was, my friend, standing outside the bathroom with his arms folded, looking confused and annoyed. When he saw me pull up fast, he frowned. "Where'd you go? I was waiting for you. I thought you were mad." He hadn't come back to the car, not once, not even close. I told him everything in one long, breathless explanation. I expected him to argue, to laugh it off, to accuse me of exaggerating because of our earlier fight. Instead, he went pale, really pale. His eyes went to the tree line immediately, then to the darkness behind the building. His shoulders tensed in this way I had never seen before. "We need to go," he said, "right now." We didn't check the woods. We didn't check the bathroom again. We didn't check anything. We got in the car, both shaking a little now, and drove away from that rest stop like the road behind us was on fire. Only when we hit the highway again, with streetlights finally showing up in the distance, did either of us speak. "You really didn't come back to the car?" I asked. "No," he said. "Not even close." He kept glancing at the back seat like he expected to see something there. Or someone. I didn't want to look back. I didn't want to imagine what had been sitting behind me all that time we drove in silence. The weight I assumed was my friend ignoring me out of stubbornness. Because if I had turned around earlier before the truck showed up, before the man shouted the warning, I would have seen someone's face in the darkness behind me. And I don't think I would have handled seeing that. Not on that road. Not in that silence. Not with that stranger leaning forward in the dim, watching me drive like he belonged there. Even now, when I think about that night, my mind always goes back to one thing. If the truck driver hadn't followed us, hadn't insisted, hadn't pounded on my window, I would have kept driving for miles with a stranger sitting in the dark behind me, breathing softly, not speaking, just waiting for something. And I still don't know whether he got in because he needed help, or because he was waiting for someone who wouldn't notice him until it was too late. If you want more stories from out here, you can subscribe. And thank you for giving me the chance to tell you another one.